Hello, all, and welcome to Are You Hooked, where we discuss how a TV show captivates an audience. My name is Jennifer Hahn,
And I'm Sarah Callan.
and we are fascinated by what draws people into a story and want to understand the pieces that get us hooked on a TV show. In today's episode, we will be discussing the closing scene of Paradise Season 1, Episode 1. This is your spoiler alert. We are talking about the ending scene, and we will inevitably talk about some of the plot points of this first episode. So, this is your spoiler alert. Okay, Sarah, what happens in this closing scene of this first episode?
Yes, in this scene, Xavier is running home, and we learn that there's something weird about this town.
Yeah. That I am hooked on whatever that was. Like, yes. I need to know.
You must
That's
know.
a great trailer. A great trailer. Yeah, so if you want to watch the scene, go actually check it out. It's only a couple of minutes. We'll include the link in our show notes and then come back, listen to the rest of our convo about it as we dive in a little bit closer. So I'm curious for you, Sarah, does this ending scene of Paradise, Season 1, Episode 1, make you want to click next episode?
Yes, it does, and it did, because I have already watched the first season of Paradise. I'm very excited for season 2, which is coming out soon. But even now, like rewatching this pilot again and specifically this ending scene, I was like, man, do I need to rewatch this season again? Like, I was ready to go on this journey all over again, just based on this scene. And I love the way that the entire episode, we know that there's something weird going on. We talked about it in our previous episode about the opening scene, that there's something eerie and unnerving. We know that something is off about this town that Xavier is living in. And then I love the way that in these final couple of minutes, we finally learn what is up with this town. And that just made me want to watch more. And so I did.
I mean, this is the ultimate, like, yes, I was hooked because you finished and watched the entire rest of the season and you very much clicked next episode. So, highly successful. Good job to Paradise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? Because you haven't watched the show. So this is your first experience with Paradise. So based on this ending scene, are you hooked? Do you want to keep watching? Do you want to watch the next episode?
I would say it's mixed for me. I actually think that this ending scene alone increased my desire to watch more of the show. So I would say as a ending scene, highly effective, very well done. Because I think without this, I was kind of getting tapped out a little bit as episode 1 was unfolding. I think especially in the middle of the episode, I remember thinking to myself while watching, I'm like, oh no, I think I might have to come back and like do a like one, yes, I'm hooked in the opening, and then come back and be like, I don't know if I would be, after watching this first episode. So this maybe wasn't a slam dunk, but the ending scene happened, and I was like, oh man, did they get me? Did they get me? And I think that's really neat to see. So I would say honestly, good job, Paradise. You made an incredible ending scene that really made me reconsider and want to kind of lean in a little bit more closely than I was. So I think what is fascinating to me is that the problem of the world expands far greater. And we knew things were not right, but I think the world building of just those last few minutes was really interesting, particularly seeing the kind of beeps of the payment systems within this world. The way that this ending scene, I think, cast and shed interesting light on the characters in the world that we've started to get to know. So some of the like big choices that our former president has made or has clearly chosen for path forward of this administration. I think there's also some really great doubt casting on our main character and what is Xavier going to do next, and the seeds of looking around at this world being like, I don't think this was the right we did something wrong here. So there's revelations that I think we see fall across Sterling K. Brown's face as that anything is unfolding, that I think makes me excited, builds energy for me around, okay, like what journey are we going to go on? Because I think the context of the conflict now has like exploded in many more directions than most of episode one tends to like keep it much more contained, which I think is part of the point, because then it allows it to explode at the end. So it was losing me there a little bit in the middle, but I think this ending scene, my answer is yes, it's got me intrigued enough to probably click on the next episode. And I think episode two will be the real like solidifier of like, oh, all right, I'm locked in. Bars are down fully on this ride, or I think I'm okay. Let's find something else to watch.
Well, and that's the whole reason why we wanted to start doing these Are You Hooked episodes,
Yeah.
because I that goes into the calculus, of how you're writing a pilot episode of a show. You
Yeah.
want that opening scene to be effective and get you drawn in and wanting to know more, but
Hmm.
you can't just rely on that. You need that ending scene to also leave you hanging and want to say, okay, I have to click, watch the next
Yeah.
episode. Especially like in this streaming age, we have 1 million shows at our fingertips all the time. And so for a ending scene to be so captivating that you want
Yeah.
to click the next episode button instead of navigating to something else, I think is that's one of the things that we wanted to examine. So this is a really fascinating episode that you did go on that journey of,
Hmm.
maybe not feeling this anymore, but that ending scene really hooked you back in. That's really interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And I think what's neat about this ending scene is it doesn't just look forward and create a big fundamental question of like what's going to happen next. It does that, of course, but it's not just reliant on that alone. It also casts a different lens to view everything you've just experienced. So you're not only excited to look forward, but you're also looking back and replaying moments and conversations and character dynamics in the episode and going, "Oh, that journey that I just went on, that I thought I understood, there's a lot more behind the scenes there that were baked in, uh, that I think takes kind of the past and paints it in a different light, which is really fun. I think that was thrilling to me, is to think back and be like, oh, many of those conversations that seem to be a certain way on the surface are actually quite different now that I know a lot more in this one few minutes ending sequence. So the not just building a momentum forward, which I think something like the Last of Us opening scene or ending scene of their first episode does a really good job of like, all right, we're going on this journey now, so it's building momentum forward, but this one almost allows you to look back in the rearview mirror and say, ooh, everything I thought I knew, maybe I don't really know. That's fun. And then every new thing we will experience next, you're also kind of questioning it now, which we love to do. That gap is fun for us.
Yes. And I also love that, this episode is kind of bookended with
Yeah.
Sterling K. Brown running through town. And
Hmm.
this final run, though, his whole world has changed very, like, in a very drastic way. And our understanding of him and this world are also changing in a very drastic way. And so I love that we see the same action happening in 2 points in the episode,
Yeah.
but it means completely different things now that we're at the end of the episode. So I love it when shows and movies can play with that and showing us a character doing something or showing us, a symbol, and then recontextualizes it throughout the episode or throughout the movie. And I thought that was really a fun thing to
Mm.
do in this particular episode.
It truly is bookended. The running, there's also the bus stop billboard that changes too. So it was something that we knew, that we'd seen. It's advertising some kind of community carnival thing, which I remember being like, ah, it looks kind of that design feels a little once again, steril's the right word, I guess, that just keeps coming to mind. It just, that does not look like a carnival that I want to go to, you know? It feels like some corporate propaganda stuff. And then we see that same bus stop change in its visual advertisement, and it gives the announcement that dawn is delayed for 2 hours, and then obviously everything expands forward. So that same like bus stop motif also is reframed again. And so everything around us now we're looking at a little bit more closely. The ducks. The ducks are
Yes,
not the
the
ducks.
ducks.
I loved the duck space.
Yeah, because even in the beginning, when he's running and you see the ducks and it's like, "Oh, cute little ducks in the pond," it's a whole, like, Tony
Yeah.
Soprano moment of like, "Oh my gosh, look at the ducks, this is great." And then at the end, you
Yeah.
realize, "Oh, those aren't real ducks. This isn't cute anymore." And so
Yeah.
I love all of those little things that you see, like, this isn't right. Oh, this really isn't right. Oh, there's something funky going on here. And then you like the way that it unfolds and you see
Hmm.
just how much is calibrated, how much is controlled, how isolated they actually are. And then the final zoom out to seeing this whole underground community that they live in. And so yeah, it's just such a wild way to end the episode. It's like, wow, okay, I have to learn
Yeah.
more. What in the world is going on here?
It's very the Truman Show esque at the end with that like long sweeping camera movement, and we go up through the lights. I think an example of what most episode one ending sequences do that propels you forward is that like number on the cigarette, and the question of like, what's the number, what does it mean, who's he working with, what's the message. That's an example of like great job creating momentum forward, but can sometimes be a little cheap, sometimes a little gimmicky. And I think what is more special about this ending sequence is that it does that. Great, checks that box, but also everything that you've seen with the characters is also different as well. And so I think that's really neat to see too, is it's able to do both. And I don't know, we haven't talked about that aspect of an ending scene of a first pilot episode yet. We've mostly talked about it in the context of like, it solidifies a character dynamic or it complicates a character dynamic, and that builds this momentum in the forward moving forward. But this one almost feels like it changes camera angles on the same story that we were being told, and now we see things a little differently.
Yes, yes, and expanding the world too of okay, the show and the story that you thought we were going on, it's
Mm,
not that. Everything
yeah.
has changed. So get used to this new weird reality that Xavier finds himself in.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what's also helpful about that like camera change in the story that we're being told is I think it builds trust in the show as well. That every time that we think that we're being told a story, we almost give our faith over to the show that it's probably more complicated than that. That was, I think, a predominant feeling I was having in the middle section is like, I'm like, all right, we see kind of a caricature of a president, of a political figure. We've seen that before. There's some like on the nose commentaries around like, he was a famous person that then just like wanted to do this and he feels like he's the best person for it. It just, so much of it felt oversimplified and on the nose. And now I'm like, all right, there's more to this. He's capable of so much more. He's not just a kind of sitting duck caricature that we've seen in the past. He's a lot more insidious than what we imagined him to be. And that's neat to see. So I think that helps create trust in the show that when we see moments like that in the future, cast some fun doubt. We can feel that there's probably more layers to this than meets the eye. And the show has built trust that it is going to do that, and it's going to be smart and it's going to be clever instead of kind of oversimplified and on the nose. That was
The
helpful for me.
other piece of it that I loved is so we talked about it in our previous episode about the opening scene, that eeriness that we feel, and the
Yeah.
episode didn't draw that out, but we get an answer to that at the end of this episode, and I really
Yeah.
love that, because I think if that hadn't come, I may have found that kind of eeriness almost to be tedious. And I don't know that I would have continued on this
Mm,
journey, but the show knows that we need an answer to that. The show isn't just creating this like uneasy feeling in us just to create a feeling, but there is a real purpose behind it. So I think to your point, that
mm,
helped to build trust in me for this show even more,
mm.
because it set up a question that I had and then it answered it kind of when I needed that answer to come.
Yeah, yeah, and didn't over like ignite the appetite for it as well in a way where you're like, okay, we get it, something's weird. We just feel it. And the show's not pointing to it like scene after scene. Oh, something's really weird, isn't it? You know, it's just letting you feel it. And then it's almost matter of fact. I actually was almost like, is the lighting on the show just really whack? You know, like it's kind of strange. It's just so overexposed in that really cool lighting. And I'm like, this is kind of strange, but I guess it's kind of a choice. But that had a meaning, that had a purpose, but it didn't over try to leave too many clues along the way. You know, like breadcrumbed enough, but not too much for us. Just the right amount. So good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, any other big things about this closing scene that we wanted to mention?
The other aspect of it that I really love, and you touched on it a little bit, is the way that the camera goes out and we see some of the infrastructure of the city,
Yeah.
and we see some people working up there too. And so I
Yeah.
think that's something that I always love, is I want to see like the size and scale and scope of something. Like it's
Mm,
great to like focus on a character and that's important, but I also want to know like the macro version.
mm,
And so I feel
mm.
like that little scene gave me enough to like really start to feel just how massive this thing is, which then
Yeah.
creates more questions in me. So I
Yeah.
just I loved that little nod. You know, they didn't have to like go into the rafters, but for me that shot was really really meaningful, and also created this like question in me of like the workers who are maintaining that versus the people who are actually like living as residents, and kind of teeing up like what does that look like. So I just, that little tiny shot, that camera movement created so many additional questions in me to want to keep on watching.
Yes. Yeah, I loved that. It was much smaller than I was expecting it to be. I'm like, this is a couple neighborhoods max. And because we get so many flashbacks of them supposedly in life pre this state, the question then for me was, how do they decide who gets to live and who gets to go? And gosh, there's so many ethical, moral, complex choices in that, and why, and how do you make those choices for who gets to live in this very small, privileged community to essentially survive whatever the catastrophic thing was that we presume is where he lost his wife in some way. I don't know, but it just at a macro like moral dilemma, I found that really thrilling to imagine. Of like, okay, imagine if we could all go to Mars, but there's only like 100,000 spots. Who gets to go? How do we decide that as a society? Who gets to make those choices? Uh, that was really fun to see. And I'm like, ooh, did we get to see that journey? If so, do I need to watch the show with all the time that I don't have? But now I'm like, man, you created too many questions in me.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if I'm like, if you're raving about it, once again, that's a great, backing. I'm like, okay, because I could see, I think without that, like the positive review of this, it's a really cool premise, but then you're like, do
Mm-hmm.
they have anything interesting to say, or are they going to squander what's a really cool premise, and then I'm going to be mad at the end of the season? But people have loved the show, you've raved about it, so I'm like, oh man, I need to know.
You do love a good like morality play, and that's
Oh yes.
that ending scene is definitely like starting those questions in your brain of like, how in the world are you going to decide this? Yeah, that is not a decision that I would want to make, but I will definitely
Hmm.
watch something about people having to make that decision.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's why episode 2 is going to be really interesting, because
Mhm.
you could have had the show just be grand reveal, we're in some weird dome, and the main conflict of the season is, how do we get out? How do we break free? How do we set ourselves free from whatever regime is here? But because of all the flashbacks that I honestly was like so frustrated by over the middle of the episode, I'm like, why are we doing this? Interesting, weird relationship that they have, but like, why? Now the question is, do we get to see how we got here? Because I'm more interested in that than like the, okay, how do we break free from all of this and whatnot? Uh, More exciting to me is, ooh, how did we get from, we're living in normal America in the environment that we are in now, to clearly there was a path and a narrative to get us here. And I think that, I don't know, they might do like the dual narratives throughout the rest of the show. We're breaking free and we're seeing how we got here all at the same time. Do the Godfather part 2 essentially. But I'm intrigued to see that morality play will be cool.
So
All right.
you'll have to come back and keep
I know,
watching, you know,
right?
just in time for season 2.
This is the ultimate, like, are you hooked? It's like,
Yes.
yes. 3 months later, I'm like, I did watch the rest of that show. Yep. Or a week later, you know?
Yeah, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is our discussion of Paradise's closing scene of its first episode. You can find it available to stream on Hulu. Thank you for listening to this episode of Are You Hooked, where we discuss how a TV show captivates an audience. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune into your favorite shows. Drop us a rating and review letting us know if this ending scene got you hooked. Did they get ya as well? You can connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at TVNSPod, or email us at tvnspod@gmail.com. Check out our website, andusmedia.co, for the latest on TVNS and our other podcast, Movies and Us. New and exciting announcement, we're part of the Movie Archer podcast network. So excited to be working with that team, an amazing crew over there. Go check out moviearcher.com to learn more. We will be back soon to discuss a new season of TVNS with a show, a season of television. As we do, let's just say we think you'll like this one. So stay tuned to see when that will be dropping and come along for that journey with us. In the meantime, we hope you have an amazing week, and we'll talk again with y'all very soon.